Now, you guys know that EA is probably one of the most hated companies out there in the United States of America, probably even in the world at this point. EA has a name that is not exactly that great in the public eye, but apparently EA wants to kind of up that and want to take it to the next level by apparently trying to introduce something that a lot of different companies have already tried to do and failed at, and rightfully so. We have an article here from Bounding Into Comics with a headline that reads, Electronic Arts CEO confirms that the company is actively working to put advertisements inside our game experiences.
Why do you hate me when I show you nothing but love?
Yes, ladies and gentlemen, because what you're looking for in your AAA games, your AA games, or whatever the case may be, what you're looking for clearly is to see ads in the game that you paid $70 for, $50 for, whatever. That's clearly what you need to do, because these companies are spending too much damn money. They are making everything way too expensive, and they're incapable of being able to keep up with it with the standard price tag for the video games, which are already high as it is. They're trying to keep it down because they know they're going to get backlash every time they try to raise the price. But let's be real, ladies and gentlemen, ads is not the way to go. Ads have never been the way to go when it comes to a game experience, and it looks like EA is trying to figure this out for themselves. So let's get into this article, guys, from Bounding Into Comics. But of course, before we do, if you are new here, just consider hitting that subscribe button. I would greatly appreciate it, and like the video to push us out into that YouTube algorithm. It says, just when it seemed like modern gaming video game landscape couldn't get any more bleak than it already is, along comes Electronic Arts CEO Andrew Wilson with the revelation that the company is actively looking to start placing real-world advertisements inside our game experiences. Now, guys, I don't know about you, but I gotta tell you, the gaming industry is trash, okay? Like, we already know this is what it is. We've been seeing what they've been doing with the mainstream gaming industry for a while now, and you know what's happening? A lot of people are realizing that they're trying to go to the live service model because they feel like if they get the live service model and they happen to score a hit, it's going to give them an ungodly amount of revenue that's going to allow them to do whatever they want with that money for the next 5 to 10 years. I think what ended up happening was that Grand Theft Auto 5 really fooled a lot of developers into thinking that live service was an easy thing to do and that everybody can do it and create an experience is going to garner them that much money over the course of 10 years. Well, I don't think that's going to happen. Unfortunately, with a live service game, there's only so much of a player base that is looking for that kind of experience. And when you start to oversaturate that experience, yeah, there's only going to be so much to go around, and you're going to end up with a Suicide Squad failure where you lose $200 million in revenue because you thought it was a good idea to do a live service game versus a single player experience like you did with your 3 games prior that brought you to the success that you're at in the first place. It's just such a weird thing. It says this intrusive plan for Star Wars Jedi series publishers' future was first divulged by Wilson during the Q&A portion of the company's Q4 2024 earnings call, as held on May 7th. Fielding one final question before as the call drew to a close, Wilson was pressed by Goldman Sachs analyst Eric Sheridan for his thoughts on the market opportunity for more dynamic ad insertion across more traditional AAA games across different formats, and how you think that might be revenue opportunity over the medium to long term. In turn, Wilson asserted, I think it's still very early on that front, and we have looked over the course of our history to be very, very thoughtful about advertising in the context of our play experiences. But again, as we think about the many, many billions of hours spent both playing, creating, and watching and connecting, and where much of that engagement happens beyond the bounds of a traditional game experience, our expectation is that the advertising has an opportunity to be a meaningful driver of growth for us. So it looks like they want to put this in AAA games. That is astounding to me. You want to put it in a game experience where somebody paid $70 for the video game. You want to insert ads into a $70 AAA game? You are out of your freaking mind, dude. That is wild to me. That is like Netflix charging full price for their highest tier and throwing ads in there because they just feel like they have to, right? Otherwise, they're going to miss an opportunity for more money. That's insane, bro. Like, wow. I know that these CEOs and executives are disconnected from the fan base. Trust me, I get that. I know they're not gamers, right? Like, you guys got to understand, there are non-gamers running these gaming studios. That's what makes this so asinine. So they're thinking from a strict profit standpoint, but they're so disconnected from the culture of it all that they don't realize when they're walking into a firestorm. And that's exactly what this is. If they start putting if they start putting ads in AAA experiences, they are going to be walking into a firestorm, the likes of which they have no idea how big it is. It says we'll be very thoughtful as we move into that. No, you won't. But we have teams internally in the company right now looking at how to do very thoughtful implementations inside of our game experiences, he then concluded. But most importantly, as we start to build community and harness the power of community beyond the bounds of our games, how do we think about going advertising as a growth driver in those types of experiences? I think the only place you're going to be able to get away with this, and it's because the player base of these games lets you get away with anything, and that's going to be the sports games, ladies and gentlemen. I feel like Madden and all that, they're going to be able to get away with in-game advertisements in those games because it makes sense. You know what I mean? You got a stadium, you got advertisements in that stadium regardless. I feel like that's the way you're going to be able to get away with it, but it's not like you're going to be doing this in some, I don't know, AAA RPG or something like that. You're not going to get a Coke ad in the middle of an RPG. You get what I'm saying? Like, it just doesn't make any sense. Especially if you're trying to be actually thoughtful, which I don't think they are. So it's ridiculous, man. Notably, EA's interest is allowing their titles to be used as real-world advertising platforms is far from a new development. And that's what I was saying earlier in the video. We've seen this happen with many different games for decades now. We've seen this happen, and they try to sneak it in every now and then. And sure, they get away with it sometimes, but most of the time they get mocked, they get made fun of, they get roasted for it, and they end up never doing it again. It says from small banners for Adidas being placed along the fields in 1983's FIFA International Soccer to the plastering of billboards for the then candidate Barack Obama's presidential campaign across the roads of 2008's Burnout Paradise to hitting players of 2020's UFC 4 with a full-blown ad for Amazon The Boys during replays, the notoriously greedy corporate publisher has long been attempting to use ad sales as another revenue for which to monetize their games. I can't believe I can't believe they put a Obama ad in Burnout Paradise. I mean, that is just crazy to me. But then again, not too shocking considering what we're dealing with here, right? It says, and though such attempts are regularly and universally rejected by players, the overall negative sentiment towards in-game advertisements has not stopped EA from trying to implement them. Rather, it's led to them trying to be more subtle in their methods of doing so. Most recently, in-game advertisements were included in 2023's UFC 5. However, rather than intrusively throwing them at players throughout the course of the game, EA instead made their viewing completely optional, with the player to choose to do so being offered in-game currency in exchange for their time. Man, that is just unbelievably fucking sad, man. Like, this is where we're at in the mainstream gaming industry right now, where you got to sell ads in order to make money because you know that your game is not good enough to make money on its own. That is just a sad sentiment that you're willing to admit by doing this. But you know what? That's where we're at, man. That's where the mainstream gaming industry is at right now. AAA gaming is at its worst. There is a lot of good games out there, but there is way more bad games out there, and they are flopping left and right. And the ones that aren't so bad, that are kind of in the middle, unfortunately, they're just too damn expensive to make, and they end up not making any money because of how much it costs to produce. So it ends up being in the flop category anyway. So it's really sad what you're seeing. I think we're going to see the rise of A and AA games as time goes on, but we'll see if this advertisement stuff starts sneaking into more games. I obviously hope not, but if anybody's going to do it, it's going to be EA. So anyway, guys, thank you so much for watching this video. I hope you did enjoy it. If you did, consider leaving me a subscribe. I would greatly appreciate it. Don't forget to like the video, comment, let me know what you thought, and I'll see you guys on the next one. Hypnotic out.